Hello and good morning everyone. Starting this video off today fresh-faced because it's going to be a full day wear test. I bought a ton of Flower Beauty stuff because I'll be honest, I was watching a lot of these collaborations with Drew Barrymore using all of her. It seems like she's relaunched or revamped or coming out with a lot more new stuff from Flower Beauty, doing a lot of collaborations with a lot of YouTubers that I watch here on the platform, and it made me want to buy it. So I pretty much bought everything required for a full face and then some, and so I'm going to test it out here today. It's bright and early in the morning, so we're going to get a full day's worth of wear, and I will check back in with you at the end of the day to see how it all turned out. Let's go ahead and get started. First with foundation, I picked up the Light Illusion foundation. It says Luminous Makeup Nude Skin Feel All Day Wear Broad Spectrum SPF 15, and the shade that I got is Warm Beige L4. I think this looks like it's going to be a good shade match. I bought all these on the Flower Beauty website because I found a 15% off coupon. Just look around. If you're shopping online too, chances are there will be one. I know they used to be exclusive to Walmart, but I think they're now sold in Ulta too, so it's broadened where and how we can get our hands on this brand. Alrighty, so I'm just going to use Real Techniques Expert Face Brush to blend that in, and I'm also going to zoom in so you can kind of see the texture of my skin before. Ooh, very close, very close. Texture of my skin before and after. So this might be a little bit on the lighter side for me, but do I have bronzer? Shoot, I don't think I have bronzer. Well, we'll figure something out. I have a ton of highlighter, and when I was actually purchasing all of this, I bought a couple of kits. You get a discount, at least online anyway. They have kits available. I'm not sure if they have them if you're buying them in store, either on Ulta or at Walmart. So that might be one upside to buying online, is that they do offer kind of bundled products in the form of like highlighter. I forget. I'll link to the kits that I got down below. But you do get a slight discount with that plus the 15% off coupon that I had. So it is a pretty fair deal when you do it like that. But unfortunately, it seems as though I have gotten lots of highlight and no bronzer. All right, so I have to say I'm kind of liking the coverage of this foundation. I didn't really know what to expect because it doesn't say it on the front. It just says, you know, Light Illusion Luminous Makeup Nude Skin Feel, which made me think it might be a little sheer on the coverage, but I wouldn't say so. It's a relatively full coverage, but per the name, it has like a glowy look to it without feeling greasy. Like, I don't think it doesn't feel like it's going to develop grease throughout the day. Grease. Excess shine. You don't need a lot to get a good amount of coverage, and it's such a flattering texture to the skin. I know we're super close here, guys, but I just want you to see how smoothly it laid over the skin and you still get that luminous glow. It's pretty hydrating, I would say. Like, it's been on my skin for, 30 seconds, bordering on a minute at this point, and it's not completely dry. Like, it hasn't dried down to a powdery finish. So we'll see how that develops as I apply the makeup on the rest of my face. Ultimately, I do have another setting powder. I have a hair in my mouth. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Ultimately, I do have another setting powder. I picked up the matte one instead of the illuminating one like I wanted, but we'll see how it goes. But why don't we go ahead and actually apply everything instead of just talking about it. Here's the concealer that I'm going to go in with next. It's the Light Illusion Full Coverage Concealer. So similar line or collection, I guess, as the foundation, but this actually says it's full coverage along with weightless feel and that it's grease proof. So here we have doe foot applicator. Because I'm not sure just how full coverage this is, I'm going to start with a teensy little bit in my inner corner where I tend to need the most coverage. A little bit on my chin, and then around the sides of my nose where I tend to get a little bit red. For reference, this looks like it is the shade of my skin, so it's not going to be very illuminating as far as like a highlighting concealer goes. The shade that I got was M12. And I forget what the shading system is in Flower Beauty. It was kind of tricky to figure out at first. And even as I think about it now, I can't really remember what M stands for. Medium, maybe? Yeah, I think yeah, because the foundation I got was Warm Beige L4. So I think it's like the fourth from the lightest shade in light line. So I'm not sure why I got medium. I don't know. I really just went by how it looked online, which can always be tricky. And as I apply this now, it's looking a little deep. Maybe even a little deeper than my foundation, but we'll work with it. So although it says it's a full coverage concealer, it's a little hard for me to tell exactly how much coverage it added just because I was adding it over an already relatively full coverage foundation. I like how it looks. It layered really well, but I would like to try it on by itself just to see exactly how full coverage it is. Like maybe it's one of those concealers that you can kind of wear alone on a no foundation day just to spot conceal and completely cover any under eye discoloration or blemishes you might have. So while my face sets, I'm going to start with the brows. This was super intriguing to me. I picked up the Tattoo Effect Brow Stain. It says it's 12-hour wear, totally smudge proof. And it has a defining chisel tip to kind of give you that tattooed or microbladed brow look. The shade that I got is Soft Brown BV3. Let's crack into this and see how it goes. Ooh, so there is the tip here. It is super precise. I'm just gonna kind of go in, I guess like you see in microblading videos, I'm just gonna create hair-like strokes, I guess. It's not too harsh at all. I dig it. All right, so there is one brow done. I'm gonna zoom you in for this next one so you can really see what's going on. This is actually a super light tint. I thought it was gonna be something a little bit more pigmented, like an actual brow pencil, and maybe scoop down. But I thought it was going to be a little bit more pigmented and severe, and it's actually a super light tint. So let's go in and do this next brow so you can really see what I'm talking about. Because it's a tint though, I do feel that even though the tip is really precise, it's not giving me a hair kind of look. It's really just filling in my brows, kind of coloring in my brows, adding some, like the illusion of fullness, but not necessarily making it look like I have more individual hairs, if that makes sense. I like the look, and because, oh, really you can see there, it's a tint. But I like the look of it because it is nice and soft. It's not, you know, it gives subtly filled in effect, but if you're looking for, you know, like the definition of individual brow hairs, this probably is not, I did it again, probably not going to be for you. Here's the deal, you really have to go at your brows straight on with this, otherwise it's going to act like a calligraphy tip pen where you just kind of color it in. So just make sure you are going straight in with this tip. And there are the brows done. So now that my face has had a little bit of a chance to set, I'm going to go in with the powder that I got. Like I mentioned before, I got the Miracle Matte powder, but there is a Miracle like illumination or something that implied it had a little bit of a sheen to it and not totally matte. That was the one I thought I was getting, but apparently I didn't, so we're going to try the matte one today. I also got a set of brushes, a travel set of brushes that I'm going to crack into here, probably using this one that looks like a powder brush. So here's the packaging, has this interesting front face here. Really elegant looking, I think, but for the fact that it's a little bulky. When you consider that all of the product is in here, they could have gone a little bit more streamlined with the packaging, I think. Also, this thing was like Fort Knox getting into. It comes with a powder puff, but then, you know, the thing that's like sticking to the top of this so the powder doesn't fly everywhere. That was impossible to get into. But now that we're in, I'm gonna go in again with this brush. I guess I'll just put a little bit of it into this lid and go to town applying this in my under eye area and lightly down the center of my face, just because that is where I tend to get oily. All right, so there is the powder. It is super finely milled, so I feel like I kicked it up everywhere, especially when I put the lid back on this thing. But it didn't take a whole lot to feel like it was set, and now that it is over those areas, it does feel like, I mean, it is at this point a powdery finish, but not, I mean, it doesn't look cakey or creasy or anything at all, and I think that might be due to how finely milled it is. It's just like super soft, super fine. Hopefully that means it's gonna last really well throughout the day without getting too cakey or break apart. Oh, and I totally forgot, I actually have another brow kit. This was, if you can see it, that's like trippy. This was free with my purchase. I don't know if it comes free with every purchase online or just with something else that I ordered. It was a free gift with purchase, but it is a quad that comes with the brow wax and then 3 different brow powders and a little brow tool in here too. Obviously I'm not gonna use that today. We're gonna see how this brow pen wears first, but another perk to ordering online. And I actually just realized I ordered another brow product, so I might have to do a battle of the flower brow products because I also got the Eyebrow Pencil. This again is in brunette, but it's just more of a traditional pencil sort of application. It's an automatic deal where you twist it up, you apply it, and then there's a spoolie here on the other end. But again, I've already done my brows, so I might have to do that in a separate video. Let's move on to the eyes, first starting with this eyeshadow primer. This is called the In Your Prime Eye The In Your Prime Eye Primer says, I mean, naturally what you'd want any eye primer to say, that it's crease-free, long wear, and an invisible finish. So just taking a little bit of that on my ring fingers and I'm applying that across my lid. Like it said, it is a transparent finish, so if you prefer your eyeshadow bases to have a little bit of pigment to them to kind of help cover or cancel any sort of small capillaries or discoloration you have on your lids, this will not be for you. But in terms of eyeshadow bases, it feels like super thin and nice and light. And it does feel like it is drying down to a little bit of a tacky finish, which I also like. Okay, so in terms of eyeshadows, I actually have two different things to play with. This is an eyeshadow crayon called Eye on the Prize Eyeshadow Chubby. I got Rose Gold Dust, but I want to see how this performs on its own, so I'm actually today going to reach for the palette that I got. This looks like a classic neutrals palette. It's called Golden Natural, and it is full of these naked-esque looking eyeshadows plus what looks like a legit brush. So I'm going to use a combination of this brush plus this eyeshadow looking brush that comes from the travel kit that I also have. So I'm going to go in with what is the lightest matte shade in here. It's like a mid-tone camel. It's actually not very light considering it's the lightest matte shade available. But I'm going to start by running that through my crease as kind of a helpful blending shade there. I do think speaking specifically for someone with my skin tone and definitely lighter, could have done with a lighter matte shade, something to kind of help blend this line out from my crease to my brow bone, because as it stands right now, because this is the lightest, I'm going to have to reach for something shimmery to help make that transition a little bit softer. Now I'm going to go in with the deepest matte shade, and actually the only other matte shade in this palette, using the brush that comes with it. These are so soft, which means they're kicking up a lot of product, but I am pretty pleased with the pigmentation. But I'm going to put that shade in my outer corner. Wow, yeah, these are super pigmented. A little bit along my lower lash line too. Actually, I have an angled liner brush from that travel kit too, so I'm going to use that on my lower lash line. And honestly, I'm just going to pick up the excess that's falling in the little brush portion of this palette, because I'm a little scared to dip it straight in there because I'm going to get so much pigment on this brush. Yeah, just that was enough. These are so pigmented. And I am getting a little bit of fallout here, so I should have maybe done my foundation last. Whoops. Okay, so luckily that was I'm just able to wipe that fallout away pretty easily. Now I'm going to go in with a light golden shade and apply that just beneath my brow. Again, kind of using it to blend from that mid-tone crease shade I applied. And now that I actually thought to zoom you guys in, you can see how these apply. There's a teensy bit of skipping here. It doesn't feel like the brush is dragging across my skin though, like skipping. I don't think it's due to the texture of either the shadow or the primer. I just think it's nothing a little bit of blending can't fix. And besides that, it applied pretty great. I mean, these are pretty nice and smooth shadows. Now I'm just going to put a pop of shimmer on my lid using my finger actually. This is like a mid-tone bronze shade that I'm going to go in with, and I'm just patting that through the center. Then I'm going to take the lightest sparkly shade in here and apply that to my inner corner just for a pop of oomph. And actually none of these brushes are really doing it for me. So I'm going in with my own. This is actually a lip brush from Dailybaileyb Tools, and popping that in my inner corner. Okay, with all that shadow applied, I'm now going to reach for two different eyeliners. I have one liquid and one pencil. Pencil's going to go in the waterline. Let's slap this liquid eyeliner along my upper lash line. So it comes with this kind of thicker felt tip. It picked up quite a bit of product that I had to brush off along the side of the container. So I'm not sure how good this will be for like a super precise wing or line. And I'm also not sure if I even want to do a wing today. We'll do a slight flick. Okay, so there they are applied, and as I've been using this, a little tip for making sure you don't have too much on the brush, since like I said, it is a pretty thick brush, so the more product you have on there, the thicker the line is going to be. I just take a little bit off here on, well actually I take as much as I can here off on the side. It creates a little pool of product that you can then take from when you need more of it, rather than dipping the whole thing back in and getting a ton more. Just go back into this teeny little pool right here and it'll give you exactly what you need to create a more precise wing. Now onto the pencil, which is in the shade Brownstone, and it just says it is long wear eyeliner. So I'm actually pretty impressed with this liner. Look at how pigmented it is with just one swipe. That went on super smoothly, not a lot of back and forth to get pigment, which depending on how hard or rough the liner is, going back and forth repeatedly can kind of irritate your waterline, which then just makes you tear up and wash away that liner sooner. So pretty impressed with how easily and pigmented that applied straight away without needing to warm it up on the back of my hand or anything like that. It also, just as an FYI, comes with a sharpener on the other end, so that if you like or need this precise tip, you can go back with that just to make sure it is ultra fine if you're using it to create maybe a wing on your upper lash line or a smoky wing, something to that effect. Last for the eyes is mascara, and this is actually something that I have used before. I'm pretty glad they kept this over from the original collection, since like I said, it seems like they've launched a lot of new things. A lot of the old things aren't available anymore, but this is. This mascara is it a 3-in-1? Yeah, it's a 3-in-1 where a couple of these are available, but Flower is one of the few brands I know that has them. But the premise is that there is this knob on the end that as you twist it, the brush changes shape, if I can twist it in the right direction. So here is setting 1. Why isn't it twisting? And then as you continue to twist it, the brush kind of curves in on itself. And so you have this first setting where it's a straight wand, and I think that is for lengthening. Then you curl it to the second curl, which is for curling, and then the final, when it's at its most curled like that, is for volumizing. So the premise is that you get all 3 in one mascara, whether you want all 3 or if you just want to use one, the choice is yours within this one wand. And like I said, it is one that I really liked before, so I'm excited to see if it has withstood the test of time for me. I'm first going to go in on the volumizing setting. Oh wow, that's a really dry formula. The formula is a little bit drier than I remember or expected. I might need to go in with the volumizing first on the other eye just to see if maybe that helps a little bit, if this is maybe applying too much product at first, because my eyelashes are coming out a little bit clumpier than I would otherwise like. Okay, so I'm going to untwirl this so it's just the lengthening wand, just to help distribute some of that product out. So I don't mind it, I just can't get over how dry the formula is. It feels like it takes a lot of combing through to get it smooth looking and evenly distributed. So now on this other eye, I'm going to go in with the lengthening setting first to see if that changes how things go on. So this eye feels a little bit wispier having just used the lengthening side. I'm going to switch over to the volumizing setting and try and pile it on that way. Ooh, that is just kind of making it a little bit clumpier. But now they look a little bit more even. So now for the rest of the face, like I said, I didn't get a bronzer or blush. Not sure how I missed that, but I just reached for this CoverGirl True Blend Serving Sculpt palette in the shade 510, and I used both the bronzer and blush from that. Then for the highlight, I have 2 palettes to choose from, the first of which is this trio called Shimmer and Strobe Highlighting Palette. Then I also got the Galactic Glow Holographic Palette because, I can't resist something that... Okay, by the way, really the only thing holographic about this is the packaging. These are more like a lot of things called holographic. They're really more iridescent and have like a frosty base with a colorful shift. That's kind of what this is getting at. So which one do I want to use? Let's go for the holographic palette because I love a good highlight layer. The first shade I'm going to use is this, probably the warmest, most bronziest, even though it's not really all that bronzy. I'm going to go in with this shade and apply that to the broadest section of the tops of my cheekbones. And that is actually not all that blinding. That's actually a really nice, subtle looking highlighter. Okay, just for the sake of experimentation, I want to see how blinding it could be or if it truly is just subtle. So I'm going to take a little bit of a fluffier brush and really get in there and go in and just kind of go to town basically. Oh yeah, okay, so it has the capability of being quite buildable, pretty blinding, pretty pigmented. So it's a nice versatile highlighter. Now for the outer corner of my eyes, for those of you who don't know, I have a whole video about my favorite method of highlighting. It includes layering, and it actually includes some of these maybe less approachable colors that you might have in your collection. You're like, what am I gonna do with a blatantly pink or a blue highlight? Well, this is how I like to use them. So I'll go in with kind of a more traditional highlight shade like I just did, and then I will go in with a smaller brush like this into, say, this blue highlight shade, and I will just go and apply that super close to my outer corner, just like that. So it's just kind of like a hint of tint that is really only noticeable as you turn your face. I find this is particularly noticeable and super flattering when you're wearing a complementary eye shade. So it looks like it's just a natural, subtle extension of that onto your cheeks without saying, hey, I'm wearing blue highlight. But it can also just be a fun way to wear a little bit of more color on your face. I suppose that didn't really make much sense, but you get what I'm saying. So I will just do that along the outer corners of my eyes, and you might be thinking to yourself, that's exactly where my fine lines are in my eyes. Why would I want to emphasize that with more highlight? But I have to say, I also have some fine lines happening here. They're just starting to develop in my under eye area, coming out here a little bit. It's more flattering than you'd think. Just give it a try, just to say you did, just to say you for sure don't like it, and just let me know, because I think it's far more flattering than you would realize. So that is the highlight done. Last up is the lips. I picked up, I think this is actually part of a kit too, a lipstick. This is the shade Peachy Nude. It's a cream finish, and is it part of a collection? It's just called Petal Pout Lip Color. I'm sure the line has a bunch of different lip shades or lip products, whether it's gloss, liner, yada yada. I just happen to keep it simple, pick up a basic lip shade. This is it. Let's go ahead and apply it. Okay, so that is the color applied. I really like the color. The consistency is a little bit on the drier side. It is more of a traditional lipstick formula where it's not a, balmy sort of finish. I've been in the L'Oreal Color Riche Shine lipstick world for a little bit, so when I applied it, I was like, wow, that's dry. No, it's really just more like a traditional normal lipstick and not like a balm lipstick. So it's nice once you realize that it's like a normal lipstick formula. Applied really nice and smooth, but like I said, because it's on the drier side, I do notice it sinking or emphasizing my fine lines a teensy little bit, and I keep patting the center of my lips because I noticed that it was a little patchy on the inside. I don't necessarily attribute that to the formula though. I recently, speaking of the Color Riche Shine lipstick collection, I swatched the whole collection, so there will be a video on that coming up soon. But when I tend to do that back to back with a bunch of different lip shades, applying them and then removing them, for whatever reason, lip colors just start to wear patchy on there. And so sometimes, depending on the formula, with some formulas, I find that patting motion just helps distribute that product, remove some of the moisture from that inner portion of my lip, and just helps it lay smoother so it doesn't look patchy or like it's not sticking. That helped here. It doesn't always help, but it did help here. So I attribute that more so to the swatches that I just did and not necessarily to the formula. But overall, I really like it. It feels comfortable. We'll see how it wears throughout the day. We'll see if that kind of drier texture keeps it comfy feeling throughout the day, or if it'll start to kind of sink in and wear differently on my lips. We'll see. So now that we have the full face applied, I love how this foundation and especially this highlight combo, love how it's working together, but it is only first applied, so like I said, we will see how this wears throughout the day. It is about 8 a.m. right now, so I will maybe check in throughout the day. We'll see. If something sensational happens, I'll check in. Otherwise, I will meet you back here at around 5:30, maybe 6. We'll see. Let's go. Okay, and we're back. It is around 5:30, which puts us at around 9.5 hours worth of wear, and I definitely have some thoughts. I have reapplied my lipstick because I think there's something about wearing the same lip in the before and after that gives you a truer indication of the foundation wear. When the lips are gone, I feel like the whole face looks like it has just gone to shambles. And so I did reapply that just for a more fair comparison, I feel. And also because the lipstick wasn't like supposed to be long wearing at all. And because it's not like the lipstick was supposed to be long wearing to begin with, I feel it's totally okay to reapply. just wanted to put a disclaimer there. So because there are so many products here to talk about, I think the easiest way to go through all of them at this point, since I know we've already been sitting here for a hella long time, I think we should just go ahead and get through the things that I know I like, some of the things I'm uncertain of, and then talk about the absolute no's. That's gonna be easiest. So first, the yeses. The Galactic highlight palette. I really liked how layerable this was. You saw me apply it and build it up. It can be a soft sheen, you can really build it up, and you know how I love a good highlight layer. I know that some of these colors aren't gonna be for everyone, but just give that layering technique a try, and I think you might change your mind in terms of quality, lasting power, how they wore throughout the day. Really impressed with this overall formula and really like the color selection altogether in this palette. The other thing that I really liked is the brow pencil. Well, not really a brow pencil, it's a brow marker tattoo effect stain. I did really like that. I thought it went on really naturally, was really good at creating light, natural, but still very present structure in the brows. Like I said before, don't look to this to like create actual brow structures. It's really more of a gentle filler, which I think has its place in a brow routine, but something else to consider is that it is not going to set your brows, which might be a no-brainer, but just in terms of looking for a one and done kind of product, for me, this is not one for me. I might love this and use this, but I have to use it in conjunction with a setting gel or a wax or a pomade just to keep my brow hairs in place. Because one thing I did notice with this is throughout the day I would find like especially my longer brow hairs here in the arch, they'd be like in my arch, like looking crazy, you know, like old man brows, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of crazy. So just something to note, if you also have long brow hair, you're gonna need something to set it with. But beyond that, I did really like this. And the last thing among the absolute yeses for me is the eyeshadow palette. It's pretty hard to go wrong here, guys. I mean, it is a classic basic neutrals palette. Really helped to have like a legit brush in here, but overall the color scheme I think is going to be so flattering and wearable for a lot of us on a daily basis. I do wish it had more mattes. You know, like I mentioned before, there are 2, maybe 3. This deepest, darkest chocolate here, which is kind of relatively the same to the next one down. So could have stood to have more mattes there, but for the most part, it has a wide variety of this brown tone color scale covered. And so because of that, it's just a really good everyday neutral brown tone palette. This would probably be a good time to segue into the primer though, because it was just okay. I think you'll be able to see, let me actually get you up close. This might be a good time to zoom in and just get into the eye area in general. So let's talk primer. You can see here after, what did I say, 9.5 hours of wear, there is slight creasing, and I also feel like there is slight color fading. Overall, the look was pretty well preserved. I just actually closed my eyes so you can see it. I think overall the look was pretty well preserved. It's just not the longest lasting. Like, it's not a 12-hour or an all-day sort of wear situation. You will, I personally notice a little bit of wear with this eye primer after a 9.5-hour day. So I wouldn't say it's a long haul eye primer, but it's still pretty good if you are looking for something on the more affordable side. So, you know, not an absolute yes for me, but not the worst thing among everything I've tried. Now, while we're zoomed in, I apologize if you're dizzy, but I just want to talk about this situation right here, which I hope is coming across on the camera. I am seeing a little bit of oxidation or a deepening of the shade in my under eye area, and I'm also seeing some major crepiness and dryness. I noticed that right about noon. I took a look in the mirror, kind of closely inspected everything to see how, you know, it was really wearing, and I noticed both of those things right around noon. Now, I knew the concealer, let me zoom you out in case you're getting dizzy. Okay, so I knew going into this the concealer was a little deep for me, but I still do think it oxidized a little bit, so something to consider as you're picking out your concealer shade. Go to whatever you think is your shade and then maybe a hair lighter just in case of that oxidation. Then there's the crepiness issue, which I feel like is more a consequence of the setting powder than the concealer itself. I would like to give the concealer another try just to see if maybe on its own it would have been a little bit more hydrating, less prone to falling in those creases, but because of the fact this is a mattifying powder, I really do think this is the culprit behind that crazy crepiness that I really, like I said earlier, I have fine lines in my under eye area. That's nothing new to me, but I've rarely had something emphasize them quite like this powder does. So I would like to try the illuminating powder first before I pass complete judgment across these powders, but I will say I'm also not crazy about how it held down my makeup in my T-zone, especially considering I used it to set my chin. I mean, my T-zone down the middle of my face, not so bad, but let's go to the war zone that is my chin. Okay, let's zoom in. This is probably closer than anyone wanted, but I really want you to see how it's like totally worn away here on my chin. And look at how it's sunk, my foundation has sunk into my smile lines over here, and it's just gotten generally dry and patchy. Same, a little bit less over here on this side, but still kind of the same. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out before you like get dizzy and throw up. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm seeing in my chin area, and it's not really normal for me, especially when using a matte setting powder. So this is currently a no for me, and it is kind of bringing into question my love for the foundation. I absolutely loved how it laid over the skin right when I first applied it, and even once I had set it and had kind of dried down to a powdery finish, I love the illumination this gives. So I'm not giving up on this yet. I do want to give it a few more tries, obviously, because this is like kind of a hybrid testing first impression situation since my first time using it. I want to give it a few more goes. I think it could be worth it for the finish that it could give my skin. So just hold tight on that and let me know. I'll put a poll up here. Do you want to see a follow-up video? Like, how do you want to see updates for this? Let me know. Either hit that I and vote in the poll section or give me a note in the comments below. And then the last, or I guess I still have two kind of on the fence meh kind of products. The first of which is the lipstick. I really like the color, and after reapplying it throughout the day, I did like how it wore better. I think my lips were just drier in the morning, and so it emphasized those fine lines. But overall, I like the pigmentation. It's a super silky, comfortable texture and feel to the lips that's just really comfortable to wear. But is it something like a formula or even a shade that's out wildly outside of the ordinary of something else I or you might have in your collection? No, probably not. So if you like the shade, if the texture sounds like it's something for you, definitely go check it out. But it's not like high on my must-haves list personally. The same can be said for the eyeliner. Actually, the same can't necessarily be said for the eyeliner. This I also feel like I need to continue testing just because I only applied it to my waterline, and honestly, when I did my little midday check at noon to look at my eye disaster, I noticed that this was already pretty much all just completely off my waterline, basically on my lower lash line, and I don't really fault it for that. I have really tricky waterlines. I don't know what's up with them. Product just rarely stays there, and so I would like to give this a try on my upper lash line just to see how the longevity really is with it. So it's just another one of those products that I'm kind of on the fence on. And also in that category of products that I'm on the fence on just because I haven't really been able to speak to quite yet are all the things I wasn't able to try in this video. So let me know once again, just how do you want to see these talked about? And now moving into our last category of products, those that just aren't for me from this batch. The first one, kind of surprising because it is the mascara that I was so excited to use, having known and loved it from the first time I'd ever tried Flower Beauty. The formula this time around is just a little dry for me, and it's been so long since I used the first one that I can't remember if it was a dry formula or if this has gotten drier with a reformulation. But all I know is I have come to like a more wet formula, I guess. The one that I'm currently loving is the Butter London Stroke of Wow Volumizing Mascara. Have really been liking this, and so comparing this to that one, I mean, it's just no competition for me. So I like the versatility of the 3-in-1 brush, but the formula just isn't the same or isn't what I remembered from it. And then the last product was the eyeliner, which was not a total fail for me. I hope you could see in the close-up that the liner actually stayed really well throughout the day. The pigment's there, it didn't flake, budge, or smudge. It just comes down to the applicator. When it comes to a liquid black eyeliner, I feel like I have so many in my collection, and most of them are in a format that I prefer over a felt tip like this, especially one that was so thick. I just didn't, the other ones that I have and prefer, I don't have to kind of work with it like I did earlier, where I take it out, I take the excess product off, I dip it back in for the thin parts, and I get more product for the thicker part. Like, that's just too much work for what I want to do, for especially since winged eyeliner is hard enough, y'all. Like, let's just get something easy in there. So the product itself is good, it's just not my preferred format. But to only have 2 complete no-goes for me out of all of these, I feel like that's a win, So let's take them as they come. That is it from me, guys. Don't forget to let me know how you want to hear about all these other products that I'm not quite sure of yet. Let me know in the comments or in that poll. Besides that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, guys.